Chapter 1. My wife Victoria is 10 years younger than me. She used to say she loved me most for being mature, stable, and considerate. But then, she had an affair. He has that old man smell, she told her best friend. A toy boy is so much better. The taste of a younger man is just divine. What she didn't know was that an older man isn't just mature. He can also be ruthless. I first noticed something was wrong with Vicky when I saw an Optimus Prime charm hanging from her phone. From what I knew of Vicky, she never put charms on her phone. She saw it as pretentious and childish. She liked older men, the mature experience I brought her. I remember I once bought us a matching set of shirts. Hers had a Superman logo embroidered on it, and she complained about it for ages. She said I was almost 40 and still so childish. In the end, she only wore it to please me. But now, she had changed. After finishing a call, Vicky was about to come over and hug me when she saw me staring at her phone. She quickly explained, I was having lunch with a client and the waitress used my phone to write a good review. They gave me this little trinket and tied it on for me. I was so busy this afternoon I forgot to take it off. Her tone was casual, nothing seemed amiss. She then unhooked the small charm and tossed it straight into the trash. But I knew she was lying. Her phone didn't have any apps like Groupon or Yelp. She found them troublesome and couldn't be bothered. When she ate out, she always just paid the bill directly, especially when she was with a client. So why was she lying? Chapter 2. While Vicky was eating, I stood up and said I was going downstairs to buy some fruit. Staring at her phone, she didn't even look up, just told me to get some oranges. I don't know when it started, but our conversations had become fewer and fewer. Out of 10 things she said to me, 9 were instructions. I picked up the trash bag, and she suddenly called out to me, "Just leave the trash there. I'll take it down with mine when I'm done." I refused and carried the trash out the door. Downstairs, I threw the bag into the large dumpster. I walked a few steps away and found a spot behind a dense bush where I stood and waited quietly. A few moments later, I saw Vicky. She walked out of the main entrance of the building, looked around cautiously, then hurried toward the dumpster. Standing beside it, she spotted the trash bag I had just thrown in. She visibly relaxed and reached in to pull it out. Opening the bag, she rummaged through it for a moment, then gently picked out the Optimus Prime charm with her fingertips. She gazed at the little charm, a smile filling her eyes as if she was thinking of someone amusing. It was a look of pure affection and joy. I hadn't seen that look from her in a very long time. From her, all I got was disdain. I'm 10 years older than Vicky. When she told me she liked me, I thought it was completely unbelievable, and I flatly refused. But she wouldn't give up. She said she liked older men. She liked their maturity, their stability, and how they knew how to care for someone. She despised relationships with younger men, finding them immature and impulsive. But now I had to admit, my wife, the woman who pursued me for years, the woman who swore she would love me forever, the woman everyone thought would be completely devoted to me, her heart had started to wander. As for whether she had physically cheated, that was something I still had to find out. Chapter 3. That night, I said nothing. I asked nothing. I had to wait for hard evidence. As usual, I washed up and lay down in bed. When I turned off the light, Vicky was still on her phone. She was typing quickly, as if in a frequent exchange with someone. Whenever she texted or talked on the phone now, she would smile unconsciously. The first thing that came to my mind wasn't the humiliation of betrayal, but rather, I wondered how old the other guy was. Over 40? Over 50? Lying in bed with my eyes closed, I was struck by the realization that Vicky hadn't held me. While sleeping for a long time, before she used to cling to me every night like an octopus. She would say sweetly that she couldn't fall asleep without holding me. But it had been so long since she'd come near me. When I tried to move closer, she would always push me away. She said my breathing was too heavy and it bothered her. In the darkness, I lay there thinking for a long time about my past with Vicky and our future, until I heard the sound of steady breathing beside me. Vicky was asleep. I gently sat up, reached over, and took her phone from beside her pillow. Vicky's phone password was my birthday. She'd even registered my fingerprint. At the time when she pestered me to add my fingerprint, I had refused. I believe that people need a certain amount of personal space no matter how close they are. But Vicky insisted, saying she had no secrets from me. She took my index finger and personally registered it on her phone. Perhaps she meant it back then. She just never imagined that people's hearts change, and hers had changed so quickly. She was already starting to get interested in another man. I opened her messaging app. The top chat had a profile picture of the Incredible Hulk. I clicked on it. It was filled with messages, all from the past hour. There was nothing before that. It seemed Vicky was very cautious, clearing her messages after each conversation. She probably thought I was already asleep and hadn't bothered to delete the most recent chat. The two of them could really talk. In just over an hour, they had exchanged more messages than Vicky and I did in a week. The man's name was Ethan Miller. It sounded vaguely familiar. Chapter 4. Their conversation ranged from him sneaking glances at Vicky at work to how bad their lunch order was. They talked about the recent rainy weather and a rock band they both liked. They could talk about anything and everything. It used to be like that with Vicky and me. She did most of the talking, and I listened. But back then, you could scroll through our chat history endlessly. It felt like it would never end. Now, in her chat with Ethan Miller, although he was the one talking more, Vicky responded to every single message. She was very attentive to his feelings, never letting his words fall flat. He chirped away like a little bird. One moment he was complaining about how annoying it was to take the subway in the rain because his shoes would get wet. The next he was saying he had a poor appetite and had lost a few pounds in a month. Then he mentioned that the band was coming on tour, but the tickets were too expensive. Vicky immediately hired a private car for him for a month. Ethan sent a surprised emoji. "The driver isn't you. I want you to drive me to work." Vicky replied, "You want me to be your driver?" In your dreams, Ethan sent a pouting emoji. Vicky replied with a pat on the head emoji. "Be good. I'll take you out for something nice tomorrow. You can't lose any more weight. It's making my heart ache." I quickly searched my memory for the name and finally placed it after the new year. Vicky had mentioned that a few new interns had joined her company. She said her old university advisor had recommended them. They were just there to get their internship certificates stamped. She said she had a good relationship with her former advisor and couldn't refuse. Not long after, I heard her complain offhandedly. She said there was a troublemaker among the interns, a young General Z guy. He would leave work on the dot every evening, not staying a minute longer. Even if he was just moments from finishing a task, he would still leave. He said the happiest moment for a worker is clocking out. Not only did he not work overtime, but he also encouraged the others not to. He said working overtime was selling your life to make money for capitalists. Once, to meet a project deadline, the entire company worked over the weekend except for the interns. To speed things up, the project manager called the interns one by one, asking them to come in and help, promising overtime pay. The others agreed, except for that guy. He flatly refused unless they paid him 5 times the normal rate. It left the manager completely stunned. Vicky had been quite critical of him at the time, otherwise she wouldn't have brought it up at home. She never liked to talk about work at home. She said our home should be a warm and pleasant space, and work matters should stay outside. I remember her saying indignantly over dinner that Ethan Miller is ridiculous. He's openly declaring in the office that General Z is here to shake up the workplace. So, it was him. I recalled he was only 23, 5 years younger than Vicky. So, her tastes had changed? I closed the chat window and a new message popped up. It was from her best friend, Isabel. On a whim, I opened it. Scrolling up, I saw a message from Vicky. "Sincere is very good to me, but I can't help but feel he has that old man smell. She had sent a cheeky emoji. A toy boy is so much better. He's a real treat. My world came crashing down. Chapter 5. The next morning, Vicky left for work. 5 minutes later, I followed. I hailed a cab and quietly trailed her car. Vicky didn't drive straight to her office. Instead, she stopped in front of a trendy dessert shop. The shop had just opened recently and was heavily promoted online. Even in the morning, there was a line. Vicky, stunning in a red dress, looked out of place among the crowd of young men and women. Her striking appearance drew frequent glances from the men around her. I paid the driver a handsome fee to park in a good spot across from the shop. It ensured I could see Vicky's every move clearly from the car. While waiting in line, Vicky took the Optimus Prime charm out of her pocket and reattached it to her phone. She smiled as she typed on her phone, the little charm dangling and swaying. 25 minutes later, Vicky finally bought the dessert she wanted. Carrying the beautiful strawberry mousse, she got back in her car and continued toward her office. I spent the morning in a coffee shop across the street from Vicky's office building. From there, I could see the elevators. Thankfully, they didn't disappoint me. My morning's wait was not in vain. At noon, the two of them emerged from the elevator. It was the first time I had seen Ethan Miller in person. He looked much like his photo, sunny and handsome, with a bright smile. He certainly looked youthful. With them was Vicky's business partner and former roommate, Isabel Wright. At the building's entrance, Isabel gave Vicky a wink. Then she waved and walked off in another direction. The entire time, Ethan had his arm linked with Vicky's. It seemed their relationship was no secret at the company. I followed them from a distance and saw them enter a restaurant in the next building. The two were quite bold, choosing a table right by the floor-to-ceiling window, completely unafraid of being seen. Standing outside the restaurant, I could clearly see their interaction through the glass. They didn't sit across from each other, but sat closely side by side. While waiting for their food, Ethan rested his head on Vicky's shoulder. He opened his phone and showed her something. They sat shoulder to shoulder, head to head, looking at the same screen. Vicky said something, and Ethan's eyes lit up. He excitedly leaned in and kissed her on the cheek. Just as Ethan pulled away, Vicky grabbed the back of his head and kissed him fiercely. When the waiter came with their food, he kept his head down, afraid to look at them. I had never seen Vicky like this. So public, so unrestrained, so brazen, completely ignoring the eyes of others. Ethan, on the other hand, nestled against her obediently, letting her kiss him aggressively. Chapter 6. I thought to myself, if it were me, I would have pushed Vicky away. I have a calm personality and don't like to be flashy. Especially in public, I don't want to be the center of attention. Back when Vicky and I were passionately in love, she had tried to kiss me like that in public. But each time, I shyly pushed her away. I didn't want to be the subject of gossip. Vicky had always been accommodating to my wishes, never refusing any of my requests. After I expressed my discomfort a few times, she stopped trying to kiss me in public. She would always say with a helpless sigh, "Honey, why are you so shy?" When we went out, the most we would do was hold hands. Now, watching the wildness and pleasure in Vicky's eyes, it was clear she was enjoying herself. She had always been like this, never caring about what others thought, always acting as she pleased. I suppose this was her true self. When she was with me, she must have been suppressing her true nature, right? For me, she became prim and proper. Perhaps she felt wronged inside, and so she betrayed our marriage. Maybe to her it wasn't even a betrayal. Vicky was wild and free-spirited by nature. Nothing could tie her down. If she felt uncomfortable, she would simply break free. Cheating, for her, was just something she did on a whim. It couldn't be called a betrayal. After lunch, they walked back to the office hand in hand. I remained in the coffee shop. In the evening, they came out of the elevator together again. I watched them walk to the plaza in front of the building and followed them out. Standing behind a large pillar, I could hear them clearly. "Vicky, please give me a ride home just this once, please," Ethan whined, tugging at her arm. You've never driven me home before." "Behave," Vicky said, patting his head, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Fine," Ethan mumbled, biting his lip and drooping his head as he walked toward the curb. He looked like an abandoned puppy. Chapter 7. Vicky watched his retreating back for a few seconds, then suddenly called, "Out." Ethan Miller, the young man, turned, his eyes full of confusion. "Wait for me right here with that." She turned and walked away. It took him a moment to process what she'd said, then his eyes lit up like little stars. He excitedly rushed over and threw his arms around Vicky, clinging to her like a monkey. "Vicky, you're giving me a ride, right?" he exclaimed, planting a kiss on her cheek. "You're the best. Get off. Wait here. I'm getting the car." "No, I'll go to the garage with you." When we first got married, Vicky promised that as long as she didn't, after work late, she would be home for dinner with me every night. She said she wanted to leave early and come back early, to work hard and be with me, to be a good wife. For the past few years, she had kept her promise. Unless she was working overtime or on a business trip, she came home right after work without exception. She clocked out at 5:30 and was usually home before 6:40. Today she was going to drive another man home. I silently followed them to the parking garage and watched her open the passenger door for Ethan to get in. The car started and sped away. I went home alone. At 6:30, Vicky gave me a call. "Honey, I have some things to finish up, so I have to work late tonight. Don't wait for me for dinner. Just order some takeout. I'll bring you your favorite deli takeout when I get back. Love you." Sitting on the sofa, I stared at the clock on the wall. By 8 o'clock, Vicky still wasn't back. This was the first time since we were married that Vicky wasn't working overtime but still wasn't home on time. And she had lied to me about it. All her broken rules were for another man. Breaking the rules is often the beginning of a wandering heart, a sign that reason no longer holds sway. Vicky's heart was starting to drift. Chapter 8. At 8:30, just as I was about to call her, I heard a noise at the door. "Honey, I'm home." Vicky placed a bag on the table. "What did you have for dinner?" "I brought your favorite deli takeout." "Go on. Have some." "Where were you?" I asked, looking up. "I told you, working late." "Really?" I looked at her skeptically. "How would I dare lie to you?" She laughed. "Do I have a death wish? Let me see your phone." "Surprise inspection," I said, holding out my hand and glaring at her. "Let's see if you're lying." "Honey, I'm so touched. This is the first time you've ever asked to check my phone. It means you're starting to get possessive of me." Vicky took out her phone and placed it in my hand. I never knew she was such a good actress. Despite having done something to wrong me, there was no trace of guilt on her face. I looked at the phone in my hand. The Optimus Prime charm was gone. She must have taken it off before coming home. I unlocked the phone with my fingerprint. All traces of Ethan Miller had been wiped from her messaging app. His name wasn't even in her contacts anymore. "Here." I tossed the phone back to her. "You passed the inspection." "Of course," Vicky said, catching it. "You're like a mind reader, and I'm an open book. There's no way I could ever get anything past you." Chapter 9. That night, after Vicky fell asleep, I picked up her phone again. I opened her messaging app. It was completely clean. Before she went to sleep, I had clearly seen her texting again. From her smiling expression, I could tell it was probably Ethan. It seemed she had deleted the chat history before sleeping. She was becoming more and more cautious. Just as I was about to put the phone back, it vibrated in my palm. A message had come through. I opened the app and saw the familiar Hulk profile picture at the top. It was Ethan. "I'm mad at you, Vicky. You promised you'd go to the concert with me at lunch, and now you're backing out. I'm angry, the kind that can't be soothed." I marked the message as unread and put the phone back. A concert? I remembered how Ethan had excitedly hugged and kissed Vicky at lunch. That must have been when she promised to go to the concert with him. But why did she change her mind? I recalled from their chat history yesterday that they had mentioned a rock band they both liked. I thought it was coming to our city for a concert soon. I opened my phone and searched for the band's name. Indeed, their concert was scheduled for next Saturday. The stadium where they were playing was only a half-hour drive from our home. I looked at the date again. No wonder. That day was my birthday. Vicky must have forgotten it was my birthday when she agreed at lunchtime. She must have remembered later that evening and changed her mind. That's what made Ethan angry. Between me and Ethan, she had chosen me. Should I be touched? Chapter 10. I got up and went to the garage. I opened the car door and checked inside. Everything was clean, no trace of anything. I checked the dash cam. All the recordings from that evening had been deleted. She was quite thorough. I closed the car door and went back inside. The next evening, I told Vicky with regret that I had to go south next week for an art exhibition. I had been invited to this exhibition before and had declined. Vicky didn't know about this. It happens to be on my birthday weekend. It's a shame I can't spend it with you, I said, feigning disappointment. It's okay, honey. We'll celebrate properly when you get back. Vicky comforted me, but I could see a flicker of excitement in her eyes. I no longer wanted a woman whose heart had strayed, even if she was once the person I loved. So they couldn't go to the concert together, huh? Well, I would create the opportunity for them. If they liked cheating so much, I'd give them a push and let them have their fun. Chapter 11. On the day of my trip, Vicky drove me to the airport. As soon as she left, I turned around and walked out of the airport. I went back to our neighborhood and checked into a hotel. For the next 2 days, I just relaxed in my room. As for tracking Vicky and Ethan, I couldn't be bothered with the effort anymore. I hired a private investigator instead. They didn't disappoint. The two were brazenly dating, constantly stuck together. Combined with the photos and videos I had taken the first time I saw them having lunch, I now had plenty of evidence of Vicky's affair. However, Vicky did have some semblance of a bottom line. She didn't bring Ethan Miller home. One evening she was sitting on the living room sofa, talking to her best friend Isabel Wright on the phone. She might have had a little to drink because she was speaking with even less restraint. Let me tell you, the taste of a younger man is just divine. Isabel said, I'm telling you, you need to be careful. You two are being way too obvious at the office. So many people there know Sincere. Aren't you afraid someone will let it slip? Vicky sounded unconcerned. So what if he finds out? Wait, are you serious about this? I thought you were just having fun. Don't forget how much effort it took for you to win Sincere over. He's not the type to tolerate cheating. If he finds out, you two are definitely over. Are you prepared to lose him? Vicky actually paused to think for a moment. Honestly, I'm not. Then how can you keep playing with fire like this? I don't want to leave Sincere. I still love him. And I know he still loves me. He wouldn't want to leave me either. If you don't want a divorce, I'm advising you to stop. End it with the kid before Sincere finds out. Give it some more time. Seriously. It's not like Ethan Miller is some supermodel. Why can't you let him go? Besides, the guy is vain, shallow, and prone to tantrums. What do you even see in him? Vicky sighed. You don't get it. An older man is great, but after a while life becomes as bland and tasteless as plain water. She chuckled softly. A younger guy is just more fun. Even his tantrums are kind of cute. Oh, you! Isabel clicked her tongue. You don't know how good you have it anyway. As your friend, I've said my piece. You're a grown woman. You know what you're doing. Just be careful. Don't worry. I'm not getting a divorce, Vicky said before hanging up. Chapter 12. Through the camera software on my phone, I heard Vicky's entire conversation loud and clear. After listening, I saved the video clip. The camera in our living room had been broken for a while. Vicky and I had planned to replace it, but since it wasn't urgent, we never got around to it. Before I left for my fake business trip, I bought a new one and installed it without telling her. It was meant as a precaution. In case she brought Ethan Miller home, I could gather more evidence. Vicky still didn't know me. I did still love her. The reason I didn't have a huge meltdown when I discovered her affair was because I'm a rational person by nature, not someone who is emotionally expressive. But that didn't mean I wasn't sad or heartbroken. I had my nights of crying silently under the covers. However, no matter how devastated I was, I had to get a divorce. I have principles when it comes to marriage. Cheating is something I absolutely cannot tolerate and will never forgive. Even if I still had lingering feelings for her, they couldn't override my principles. I loved her, but I have my dignity as a man. I couldn't allow myself to continue getting hurt in a broken relationship. At any time, the most important thing is to protect yourself. On the night of the concert, I went to the stadium. I stood diagonally behind them. I had found Ethan Miller's phone number, which led me to his social media account. He had posted a picture of the concert tickets on his account. Using their seat numbers, I bought a ticket for this spot online at a premium. From this position, I could see their interactions perfectly without being noticed. Throughout the concert, they acted like any ordinary couple in love, holding hands while singing and kissing when they got excited. Oh, and they were wearing matching shirts. Today was my birthday. I thought Vicky would at least make a token effort call me or send a text to wish me a happy birthday. But she didn't, not until the concert was over, and I watched them check into a hotel. Chapter 13. It was past midnight by then. Perhaps she was having too much fun and forgot about my birthday. I got a room in the same hotel they were staying in. Strangely, after nights of insomnia, I slept incredibly well that night. Maybe it was because things were finally coming to a head. The anxiety I'd been holding on to could finally be released. My alarm went off early in the morning. I washed up. It wasn't even 6 o'clock. I figured they wouldn't be leaving this early. I sat down on a sofa in the hotel lobby and waited quietly. By 8 o'clock, they still hadn't appeared. I took out my tablet and stylus and started drawing. I still had a few commissions to finish. By the time I finished one draft, it was already 10:30. I packed up my tablet, stood up, and stretched. Just as I took a few steps, two familiar figures emerged from the elevator. They sure could sleep in. It was almost noon. Ethan looked like he was still half asleep, clinging to Vicky's arm as if he had no bones. "Vicky, I want steak for lunch." His tone was sweet and whiny. Vicky smirked. "Call me Master, and I'll take you." Ethan's eyes widened, and he playfully punched her arm. "You're sick so improper, are you going to say it or not?" "Fine, I'll say it, who's scared?" Ethan lifted his chin and, in a high-pitched cutesy voice, said, "Master, please. Take me for steak, good boy." Vicky's words caught in her throat as she froze. She was staring at something just ahead, her body as rigid as a statue. Chapter 14. Under her gaze, I smiled and slowly walked up to her. Vicky's expression shifted from initial shock and panic to a slow relaxation. She let out a small scoff and just watched me quietly. Ethan Miller must have known who I was. I could see the panic and guilt in his eyes. He quickly tried to pull his arm away from Vicky's, but Vicky reached out and held his arm in place, not letting him move. As if she had nothing left to lose, Vicky curled her lips into a mischievous smile. "Oops, looks like my big bro found out. Should we sit down and talk?" I asked in a gentle tone. "Talk about what? A divorce?" "A divorce?" Vicky gritted her teeth. "You want to divorce me? Under these circumstances, do you think our marriage can continue?" I glanced at the young man beside her who couldn't hide his delight. "You're not in a hurry, but maybe someone else is." "Fine. Let's talk now," Vicky said, her voice laced with anger. Should I step away?" Ethan asked, looking up at Vicky. "Why would you?" Vicky wrapped an arm around him. "This concerns your interests too. Aren't you curious? Mr. Clark won't mind, will he?" Ethan said, batting his eyes at me. "Let's all do this together. We can get it over with quickly." The three of us sat down on the lobby sofa. I took out the pre-prepared divorce agreement from my bag and handed it to Vicky. She glanced at it. "Ha, you even have this ready. You really came prepared, didn't you, Sincere? Regarding the division of assets, your company remains yours, but I'll be taking the majority of the savings and fixed assets, since you're the party at fault," I stated coolly. Vicky looked at the agreement again, focusing on the asset division section. So, aside from my own company, you're basically asking me to leave with nothing? She raised an eyebrow. You really are something sincere. Not willing to lose out on a single thing, are you? Ethan, sitting beside her, couldn't stay quiet any longer. Why should you? Vicky earned all the money in this family. What right do you have to take it all? The right of being her legal husband, with conclusive proof of your affair. Not only that, but I will also be suing to recover every cent she spent on you, which is part of our marital assets. Ethan's face turned red with anger. Enough. Vicky shot to her feet. It's just a divorce, right? Fine, let's do it. Chapter 15. With that, she took a pen and signed the agreement. I took the papers back and smiled. See you at the courthouse Monday morning. As I reached the hotel entrance, I heard a loud crash behind me. I turned back to see that Vicky had kicked over the coffee table in front of the sofa. Furious, she kicked it several more times. Ethan stood beside her, frozen in fear. I paid them no more mind and left calmly. At 9 o'clock on Monday morning, I was at the courthouse on time. 10 minutes later, Vicky appeared, holding Ethan's hand. We waited in line together, not exchanging a single word the entire time. Only Ethan was chattering away beside her. Vicky, let's buy a house near the office, okay? It'll be so convenient for us to go to work together. I want to design the interior myself. I've saved so many design ideas. Oh, and I want the bedroom to have a gaming theme. If you don't agree, I'll kick you out to sleep on the sofa. Vicky smiled faintly. Whatever you want. When it was our turn, we completed the registration smoothly. Then we went our separate ways, each driving off in our own car. We just had to wait a month to come back and finalize it. Since the divorce wasn't final yet, I was afraid something might happen in the interim, so I didn't delete Vicky's contact information. Because of this, I saw her frequent social media updates. Vicky had started riding her motorcycle again. It seemed that being married to me these past few years had really suppressed her. The moment we separated, she immediately reverted to her true self. Vicky was so much younger than me. I was already in my middle years, while she was still young, at an age for fun and games. Her motorcycle used to be her greatest love. After we got together, I rode on the back of it once. I just couldn't handle the thrill of that kind of speed. After that, no matter how much she begged, I refused to get on her motorcycle again. The speed at which she rode terrified me. Every time she went street racing, I would turn pale with anxiety, sweating all over. I was afraid she would get into an accident. Vicky didn't want me to worry, so she gradually gave up the hobby. She would only occasionally take it for a spin on a suburban road to get her fix, but she stopped racing against others. And now, her social media was filled with photos and videos of her racing every day. She was unrestrained, living life to the fullest. You could see she was happy. Every time she raced, Ethan was on the back seat. His hair was a mess in the wind, his hands wrapped tightly around her waist, his cheeks flushed with excitement. They were close in age, both at that vibrant, carefree stage of life. He could play and have fun with her, letting her live it up, unlike me, who was always a wet blanket. Vicky and I, in both age and personality, were not a good match. Maybe us getting together was a mistake from the start. We were from two different worlds and shouldn't have been forced together. I did hate Vicky for cheating, but now, more than anything, I just wanted to finalize the divorce and correct this mistake, to get my life back to normal as soon as possible. Unfortunately, she didn't feel the same way. Chapter 16. A month later, I was waiting for Vicky at the courthouse. I waited from 9 until 11, but she never showed up. I called her countless times, but she didn't answer. At noon, I took a cab straight to her company. The receptionist knew me and didn't dare to stop me. I walked straight to Vicky's office. She was in a meeting with Isabel Wright. Seeing me, Isabel stood up. "You two talk, I'll step out." I didn't sit down. I asked directly, "Why didn't you show up this morning?" "Show up where?" she asked lazily. "The courthouse." "Oh? Was that today?" Sorry, I forgot. Stop pretending. I sent you a message yesterday to remind you. Vicky picked up her phone. Sorry, I blocked you. Didn't see the message. Come with me now. We're finalizing this in the afternoon, I said curtly. Can't. I have a meeting this afternoon. Vicky, I have to get this done today. Vicky's face darkened. I said, I'm not free today. I hear your new product is about to launch and you're holding a press conference. Are you sure you want the scandal of your affair to break right now? I reminded her coldly. Sincere, you really are something else, Vicky sneered, gritting her teeth. Fine. Let's go to the courthouse now. We sat at the courthouse for over an hour, waiting for the staff to return from their lunch break. We were the first couple to be processed in the afternoon. With the divorce certificate in my hand, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. A huge weight had been lifted, and I felt a sense of ease. In the parking lot, as I was about to get into my car, Vicky came up behind me. She said mockingly, Now you've got your wish. I replied, I think you mean, now you've got your wish. I opened the car door, got in, and started the engine. Vicky suddenly rushed over, leaned down and rested her arms on the open window. She said resentfully, I've wanted to divorce you for a long time, Chapter 17. Sincere, do you have any idea how boring you are? You're afraid to try any sport that's even slightly exciting. You're scared of this, scared of that. You'd be happy to stay at home 24 hours a day if you could. It turns out a big age gap really does create a generation gap. And what's even more ridiculous is that you don't even have a temper. No matter what happens, you're always so unflappable. Are you even a normal person? Even when I cheated, you were so calm. Did you ever even love me? Do you have any idea how living with you is as bland and tasteless as plain water? I've been sick and tired of this suffocating life for so damn long. I love excitement. I love challenges. I love racing. My motorcycle. And now I can finally do it all as much as I want. I thought that by letting go, I would be invulnerable. But hearing the person I once loved attack me with such venomous words, a sharp pain shot through my heart. She had still managed to hurt me. I was hurt. I didn't understand how someone could be so cruel. They're the one who did something wrong, yet they feel no guilt, no remorse, and instead attack the other person with such self-righteousness. Maybe my mistake was being too tolerant in our relationship. I looked up and met Vicky's gaze seriously. Until just now, I actually didn't regret marrying you. I chose to be with you because I had truly fallen for you, and I felt your love for me. Even when you had a change of heart and cheated, I accepted it calmly. I'm an adult. When I chose to marry you, a woman more than 10 years my junior, I should have considered all the potential risks that came with your age, personality, and temper. I should take responsibility for my decisions. There's nothing to regret about that. But just now I started to regret it. Chapter 18. I regret that I was such a poor judge of character. Vicky, I used to think you were just immature, playful, and had a bit of a temper. But now I realize you are morally corrupt, selfish, and cowardly. You cheated. You were unfaithful to our marriage. You were the one who did something wrong. Yet you don't have the courage to face your own mistakes. Instead, you turn around and blame me, forcing the responsibility for our failed marriage onto me. Does that help you sleep at night? I'm quite disappointed in you. As I drove away, I saw Vicky's panicked face in my rearview mirror. On the way home, while waiting at a red light, I realized that tears were streaming down my face. It still hurt. To be attacked with such vicious words by someone I once loved. I didn't know how we ended up like this. Vicky had once pursued me so boldly and publicly. That passionate love had been like a scorching flame, warming me. It was the first time I had ever experienced such an honest, unconditional love. From Vicky, I learned that a person's feelings could be like a flood coming and going with incredible speed. The first time I met Vicky, she was just a young woman of 18. At the time, I had taken a tutoring job. My roommate told me it was for her neighbor's child, a high school senior. She warned me that the girl had a rebellious personality and was a bit difficult to handle, and that I should think it over carefully. I wanted to buy a set of expensive art supplies I had my eye on, so after a moment's hesitation, I took the job. 18-year-old Vicky had red hair and a defiant look in her eyes. It was clear she had no intention of studying seriously. On my first day as her tutor, she spent the entire afternoon playing video games. I also witnessed her furious, profanity-laced tirades at other players. When she finally finished her game, I walked over with my notes. I've looked at your old textbooks and exams. Your fundamentals are very weak, so we'll need to start from the beginning. I've made a study plan for you. If you follow this weight with all that chaos going on, you actually had the mind to write all these notes and make this ridiculous plan, she asked, pointing at my notebook. Your family is paying me. I have a responsibility to you. Do you know how to curse? She asked suddenly. Huh? No, I replied honestly, shaking my head. A wicked smile played on her lips. How about this? You do one thing for me, and I'll take my lessons seriously from now on. What is it? Chapter 19. Log into my game account, invite that person I was arguing with back, and curse them out for me. If you win, I'll listen to you. I can't do that. I don't know how to curse. Then you can leave. Don't come back tomorrow. I can get her to apologize to you. Would that work? I suggested after a moment's thought. She'll apologize to me? Vicky's eyes lit up. Okay, so I logged into the game and invited the player to a party. When she joined, before she could say a word, I began to calmly explain to her that cursing at people in a game was wrong. After I had delivered a lengthy lecture on manners, the player on the other end said, "Who are you to that girl?" "I'm her older brother." "Hey, big bro, can we play together sometime? If you apologize to her, you can." "Apologize, of course, I'll apologize, get your sister in here." Beside me, Vicky reluctantly accepted the apology. I winked at her. "A deal's a deal. You listen to me from now on." She stared at me for a moment, stunned. Okay. From that day on, Vicky really did listen to me. She paid attention in every single one of my lessons. She was actually a very smart kid. Once she applied herself, she improved at an incredible pace. In her senior year, her class ranking climbed at an astonishing rate. In the last 2 months of the semester, she was consistently in the top 50% of her grade. Her parents were incredibly grateful and gave me a huge bonus. After her final exams, Vicky suddenly confessed her feelings for me. It honestly shocked me. In my eyes, she was a little sister, a child, a student, anything but a potential girlfriend. Vicky seemed to have anticipated my rejection and didn't take it to heart. She told me with an air of certainty, "It's okay, big bro. I have plenty of patience." On the day she started university, I got a call from her and found out she had enrolled in my school. She told me cheerfully, "Of course I studied so hard to get into your school. It was all to chase after you, big bro." I rejected Vicky countless times from her freshman to her junior year, but she never gave up. I don't know when I started to develop feelings for her. I only knew that I found it harder and harder to bear the sight of her sad puppy dog eyes and dejected expression. After I started working, she once traveled all the way from her out-of-town internship, waiting for me downstairs in a downpour just to celebrate my birthday. I was suddenly moved by her courage. Chapter 20. So what if she was more than 10 years younger? What was there to be afraid of? The worst that could happen was a breakup, and it wasn't like I couldn't handle that. That night, after I blew out the candles, I told Vicky, "Let's give it a try." She hugged me tightly, her tears falling onto my ear. It was the first time I had ever seen her cry. To be fair, Vicky was a great girlfriend when we were dating. She had a 6-month internship in another city, and she would take the train back to see me every weekend without fail. I told her she didn't have to come back every time, that we could take turns. She could visit me one week, and I would visit her the next. She refused, saying she didn't want me to go through the trouble of traveling. "You work all week. You should rest at home on the weekends." I'm young, I can handle a little travel. I couldn't bear to see you get tired. I then suggested that coming back once a week was too frequent, and that once every 2 weeks or even once a month would be fine. She disagreed even more strongly, cupping my face in her hands and saying, I miss you. I think about you every day. I only get to see you once a week, and now you want to take that away from me? You're so cruel. And so, for 6 months of long distance, she came back every single week. Without fail, she respected my opinions and took my words to heart. I didn't like her racing her motorcycle, so she gradually gave it up. I didn't like her cursing, so she never said a swear word in front of me again. I loved the scallion oil noodles from an old shop, but the owner was planning to close down and move back to his hometown. Vicky paid the owner to learn his recipe and would often make them for me. After her internship ended, she always said she would never move away again. The days we were apart were unbearable for her. Right after graduating from university, she couldn't wait to marry me. At the time, both of our families were against it. Our parents were reasonable people. They didn't mind the age gap, but they thought we were getting married too young. But Vicky was persistent. She went to my parents' house time and time again to talk to them, and then she would work on persuading her own parents. During that time, I felt like she had really matured. She actually managed to convince both sets of parents to agree to our marriage. At our wedding, the roommate who had first introduced me to Vicky as a tutor said, "If you two ever break up, I'll stop believing in love. I'm sorry to have shattered your illusion of love." 3 years after we got married, we got divorced. Chapter 21. After getting the divorce certificate, I immediately deleted all of Vicky's contact information. I was given our marital home in the settlement, and I immediately contacted a real estate agent to sell it. The house held too many traces of Vicky, and I didn't want to live there anymore. I spent 3 days packing my belongings and moved into a small apartment I had bought before we were married. And just like that, I began a new life on my own. After nights and nights of insomnia, I realized something was wrong with me. I wanted to save myself, so I took the initiative to see a psychologist. After listening to my story, the psychologist, Dr. Foster, analyzed that Vicky's words had indeed affected me. She told me, "You need to be more confident." What she said was just her way of shifting the blame. She was the one who cheated. You did nothing wrong. It was like a light bulb went on. Deep down, I was still bothered by those words. I would subconsciously wonder if I was really too bland, too boring, too uninteresting. Unable to give her the excitement she craved, and that's why she cheated. But Dr. Foster was right. Why was I blaming myself? Some people are just born with a low sense of morality and are never satisfied. Even if their partner was a perfect 10, they would still cheat. Should you blame the partner for being too perfect, making them feel insecure and pressured, thus forcing them to cheat? People who make mistakes will always find excuses for themselves. That's right. I did nothing wrong. I am gentle, emotionally stable, tolerant, and reserved. These are all good qualities. They shouldn't be things I need to reflect on as faults. I deserve someone better. Chapter 22. After seeing the psychologist, I was finally able to sleep soundly through the night again. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it anyway. "Hello?" There was no response from the other end. I instantly knew who it was. I hung up immediately. A week later, I received a call from Isabel Wright. She hesitantly told me that Vicky and Ethan Miller were getting engaged and invited me to the ceremony. "I don't think there's any need for us to stay in contact." After saying that, I blocked Isabel's number as well. One evening, as I was walking home from the supermarket, I saw a figure crouched by my front door. I was startled and about to turn and run when a familiar voice called out from behind me. "Sincere, it's me." I slowly turned around. "What are you doing here?" "I got engaged today." "Oh, well, I wish you both happiness." Vicky's voice was incredibly hoarse. "Sincere, don't you want me anymore?" I didn't understand. After everything that had happened, how could she still be asking such a question? "We're divorced." Who you're with is your business. As I was unlocking my door, she rushed over and grabbed my hand. I didn't get engaged to Ethan. I lied. After we divorced, I made him leave the company, and I haven't seen him since. I had Isabel tell you I was getting engaged today just to see if you would show up. I waited all day, but you never came. Sincere, do you really not want me anymore? You're being ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I can't understand your logic, I scoffed. You cheated. You betrayed our marriage. Why are you acting like you're the one who was abandoned? You were the one who chose to end our relationship. I didn't. She shook her head frantically. I didn't want it to be like this. So what you're saying is, you wanted to cheat and still continue our marriage? You know my personality. I don't tolerate infidelity. You should have thought of the consequences when you took that step. I just thought it was new and fun. I never planned on being with Ethan forever. You're so kind. You once said you would forgive me for any mistake I made. I may be good-tempered, but I have my limits. Vicky, you can't just bully me without restraint because I'm always tolerant. Do you know that because of your accusations I fell into a spiral of self-doubt? I developed psychological issues. I couldn't sleep at night. I can't forgive you for the damage you've caused. I didn't know. Vicky looked at me bewildered. I pulled my arm free, walked into my apartment, and slammed the door shut. Chapter 23. Half a month later, Vicky's mom, my former mother-in-law, Eleanor, gave me a call. I hesitated for a moment but answered. She had always been good to me, and she was a reasonable person. A good mother-in-law. Sincere, I know I shouldn't be bothering you right now. But please understand a mother's concern for her child. Could you come to the hospital to see Vicky? The hospital? What happened to her? She was in a car accident. She's seriously injured, but she's refusing treatment. I thought for a moment. Okay. Outside the hospital room, I could hear angry shouts from a distance. Get out. Leave me alone. I deserve this. I pushed the door open, and a pillow came flying at my face. I reached out and caught it. Sincere? Vicky looked over, her face lighting up with joy, before it changed again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. I thought it was someone else. I glanced around the messy room and pulled up a chair to sit. Someone else? Who do you mean? Your parents? Your friends? Your employees? You once asked me why my temper is always so good, why I never get angry. At the time, I didn't tell you the truth to spare your feelings. But now I can. It's because I'm an adult, a mature person. Throwing a tantrum doesn't solve problems. I believe that people who are prone to emotional outbursts only reveal their own immaturity and incompetence. Vicky leaned back on the hospital bed, a lost expression on her face. I know. You're right. It's my fault. I shouldn't lose my temper. Sincere, you don't like it when I get angry. I'll change. How did the accident happen? I asked. She lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong and confessed. Well, I was driving today, and someone behind me insisted on overtaking. I got annoyed and challenged them. I cut them off a couple of times, and when I was making a turn, I didn't see a car coming from the side and we crashed. Don't you find that ridiculous? You're not a dramatic 15-year-old. Acting on impulse on the road, disregarding your own life and the lives of others, you think that's cool? I don't know what came over me. Sincere, if you had been in the car with me, this would have never happened. Think about it. After we got together, did I ever do anything so impulsive? Vicky looked at me with sorrow. After the divorce, I realized that my temper only gets better when I'm with you. You're always so gentle, like water, never rushed, never flustered. You're like a spring breeze that brings comfort. No matter how angry or agitated I am, the moment I see you, all my anger just dissipates. She reminisced. I remember the first day I met you. I was in a terrible mood after getting into a fight with someone in a game. Watching you so earnestly lecture that person about not using foul language, your gentle eyes, the dimples on your cheeks, your faint smile, it was like you had a magical ability to calm people down. Both the person in the game and I were soothed by you. That's when I decided I couldn't let that tutor go. I had to keep you, because I loved the feeling of being with you. Chapter 24. I smiled faintly. Do you remember what you said to me when we got divorced? You said I was boring, that you were sick of being with me. You also said that living with me was as bland and tasteless as plain water. Vicky's face turned deathly pale. She shook her head frantically. I'm sorry, sincere. Those were all lies. I was just so angry at the time. I was just being stubborn and trying to save face. Tears slowly trickled from the corners of her eyes. Sometimes, for the sake of my ridiculous pride, I can't help but say things I don't mean. They're not my true feelings at all. How could I not like being with you? How could I possibly get tired of it? From the very first time I met you, I loved the feeling of being with you. When I was doing my internship in another city, those few months of long distance were unbearable. Without you by my side, every day felt like torture. After we divorced, I couldn't bring myself to go home anymore. Walking into that empty house, my chest felt like there was a huge hole in it with a cold wind blowing through. I was terrified of that loneliness, so I could only wander outside every day. I only felt a little bit of security when I was hidden in a bustling crowd. I scoffed. You didn't seem to like staying at home that much when we were married. Weren't you trying to find every excuse to lie to me so you could spend time with your adorable little boyfriend? Vicky said bitterly. I was a fool. We were together every day for years, never apart. It made me forget what it felt like to be without you, and I overlooked how important you were to me. You were like the air around me, unassuming but essential. It was only after I lost you that I realized I couldn't survive without you. No one is indispensable in this world. I had lost my patience for her confessions and stood up. Adults have to bear the consequences of their decisions. Vicky, stop being so willful. You still have parents who care about you. Don't make them worry. As I reached the door, Vicky called out loudly, Okay, I promise you I'll become mature and rational. Just the way you like. I didn't look back. I walked away. Chapter 25. After Vicky recovered, she started showing up wherever I went. Since I don't have a fixed job, I don't go out much, but my routine is regular. I go for a run every morning at 6:30. Along the riverbank where I usually run, Vicky's figure would often appear. She never approached me, just followed behind me at a steady pace. Because of this, I couldn't really tell her off. I could only pretend not to see her. One morning as I was running, an elderly woman was walking slowly ahead of me. She coughed and took a tissue from her pocket to wipe her nose. As she did, a pink paper-like object fell out of her pocket. If I wasn't mistaken, it was a $100 bill. The woman didn't notice and continued on her way. Just as I was about to run up and call out to her, a young woman darted out. From the side, picked up the money, and stuffed it into her own pocket. Hey, that's not your money, I shouted. The elderly woman heard me and turned around. Ma'am, a $100 bill just fell out of your pocket, and this person picked it up, I said, pointing at the young woman. Then I turned to the woman. Give the money back. The elderly woman felt her pocket and said nervously, My money is gone. The young woman played dumb. I didn't pick up anyone's money. That was my own money that I dropped. What's wrong with me picking it up? Fine, then you can tell that to the police, I said, taking out my phone to call them. The young woman's expression changed, and she lunged for my phone. Don't you dare call the cops. Just then, an arm shot out from the side, blocking her. Vicky looked down at me. Are you okay? I shook my head. What the hell, who's sticking their nose where it doesn't belong? The woman was about to lunge again, but when she saw Vicky, who was half a head taller than her, she froze. What bad luck, she muttered, shaking her arm and trying to leave. Stop, Vicky said, blocking her path. Give the money back. Are you crazy? I didn't take your money. I'm not giving it back today. The woman let out a stream of curses. Vicky grabbed her arm and twisted it behind her back, immobilizing her. Then she turned to me. Call the police. I'm sorry, man. I'll give it back, okay? The woman pleaded. Vicky let her go. She took the $100 bill out of her pocket, handed it to the elderly woman, and then ran off. After thanking us repeatedly, the elderly woman also left. Vicky looked at me gently. "You weren't scared, were you?" I looked at her with curiosity. "You've changed. You're more mature than before." She smiled softly. "Am I?" I nodded. "In a situation like this before, you would have definitely thrown a punch. But now, you actually managed to hold back. Not bad. I remember what you said. I won't be impulsive anymore," she said, her eyes fixed on me. "Sincere. I told you I would become the person you like." Chapter 26. "That's all in the past," I said, looking into the distance. "Vicky, we both need to move forward." Vicky seemed serious about getting back together with me. Now I would even run into her when I went out for breakfast. At the fruit store, I glanced at the cherries for a moment too long, and soon after I got home, a whole case of them was delivered to my door. Her behavior was starting to bother me. To put an end to this, I decided to go on a trip. I'm a freelancer, so I can leave whenever I want. Vicky, on the other hand, couldn't. She had a job and a company to run. She couldn't just leave for an extended period. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, finally able to escape her. Wandering freely through the beautiful landscapes of the country, I felt my mind and spirit expand. While visiting a scenic lakeside town, I ran into someone I knew, my former psychologist, Grace Foster. After a brief chat, we discovered that our travel plans for the next few days overlapped, so we decided to travel together. Over the next few days, Grace and I got along wonderfully. I found that our personalities were very similar. She told me that she was also a calm person and had almost never lost her temper. I asked her why she was so emotionally stable. She said she had been that way since she was a child. To her, nothing ever seemed like a big deal, nothing worth getting angry about. If a problem can be solved, I find a way to solve it. If it can't, getting angry won't help, she said. I smiled. That's a coincidence. I think the exact same way. Being with Grace was harmonious and comfortable. We seemed to have an unspoken understanding. With just a look, she would know what I was thinking. Usually, a shared smile was all it took for us to understand each other. After our time in the lakeside town on the day we were supposed to leave, I found myself feeling surprisingly reluctant to part ways. At the airport, I was restless, my mind a jumble of thoughts I couldn't sort out. When I turned around, I saw a familiar figure, and my mood instantly brightened. Grace was walking toward me with a smile. I changed my itinerary. "I'll be joining you for the next leg of your journey. Am I welcome?" I nodded eagerly. The day before Grace and I got married, Vicky came to see me. Chapter 27. "Is she good to you?" she asked, her eyes red and swollen. "Yes, very good. Our personalities are a perfect match. We're both emotionally stable people. I doubt we'll ever even argue," I said with a smile. Vicky's smile was more painful than a grimace. I'm only now realizing that one wrong step leads to another. Once you go down the wrong path, there's no turning back. I sighed. I was able to move on. You will too. She shook her head. I won't. Vicky, our personalities really aren't compatible. You can't force fire and water to mix. But I can change. I can become emotionally stable, mature, and rational. Let it go. I believe that one day you will meet someone who truly loves you. He will appreciate your quirks and love all your strengths and weaknesses. That day will come. Vicky nodded dejectedly. I wish you happiness. Just as she left, Grace walked over with a bouquet of sunflowers. Should we go for seafood porridge tonight? Yes, I nodded with a smile. Why the sunflowers? I passed by a flower shop, and this bouquet looked particularly bright and cheerful, just like my mood. So I bought it. So they're not for me, I said, pretending to be disappointed. You'll see a whole field of red roses tomorrow, so don't be so greedy, my handsome groom.